This is Maker Galaxy.
We're always talking about the future of design, the future of technology, the future of making. In a world where indie bands can allow their listeners to 3D print their own band merchandise on demand. A world where makeup can be customized and manufactured in a user's home. How do we find the next big thing? Maker Galaxy is a show that explores the crossroads of design, technology, and the future of making. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Simon Martin, and this week we have yet another special interview featuring Adam O'Hearn and Josh Mings of the popular podcast EngineerVsDesigner. Adam and Josh will be interviewing Fritz and Gavin Bridgeman of the software company TechSoft 3D. TechSoft 3D is changing the way we interact with 3D in the cloud, and we'll hear firsthand from Gavin and Ron about how they're making that possible. Today's episode is brought to you by the new Objet 500 Connects 3 from Stratasys, the world's only color and multi-material 3D printer. Offering incomparably brilliant and consistent colors, plus transparent colors, the Objet 500 Connects 3 lets you create the most true-to-life modeling possible. Find out more at stratasys.com.
Ron and Gavin, thank you so much for joining us today. We have a mind-boggling question for you. If you could have an augmented reality system embedded painlessly into your eyeball, but it would render all humans visually as tropical bird species, would you do it? Ron?
How come I have to keep going first? On balance, no, I wouldn't do it. It would. I mean, we all know that there's a lot of ugly people in the world, and it would bring them up a good few notches to have them rendered as tropical birds. But then the attractive people would also be rendered as birds, which is a net loss and too painful to ponder.
I love your logic.
All right. Well, that's really good to know. Before we go any further, though, let's just get a little bit of background on TechSoft. So, Gavin, why don't we go with you this time? What is TechSoft? What do you guys do?
So we're providing tools into the engineering community for nearly 20 years now. Our background was initially in the graphics side of things, but since then we've expanded our tool set to allow people to bring data into their environment and also do collaborate by publishing things to 3D PDF. So really we essentially provide a set of tools for people building engineering applications. And we're using, SolidWorks and our eDrawings product is all built on top of our technology, and we have, I think 400 or 500 different customers out there today, and really love this space and love kind of not only helping the big guys, but also helping some of these smaller guys who don't have the, engineering or don't have the engineering resources to really compete with these big guys, and really helping them compete them by providing them with kick-ass graphics, great translators, and a really framework that gets them pretty far along the path of building great engineering applications and letting them focus on what they're great at, which is usually a very specific thing.
Right. Now, and you guys have some pretty exciting products just kind of on the horizon that we're going to be talking about throughout the rest of this interview. But before we get to that, just more on a personal level, Ron and Gavin, where are you guys coming from? Are you out of the software world? Are you engineers?
It's possible that I'm the only engineering software CEO you've ever interviewed that went to Cornell's School of Hotel and Restaurant Administration. Also true. So my background is mainly in business, and
okay.
Gavin and the Hoops technology came out of a lab at Cornell University. Gavin and I met through a mutual friend, and that's really how I kind of got into the software business. But really, in the end, service is service, and if you're passionate about building something, then we've shown that you can enter a new field.
Absolutely. And Ron, I mean, you're the CEO of TechSoft, so a business background makes sense for you. Gavin, what's your role at TechSoft, and what's your background?
So my background is I've a master's in mathematics. I went to school in Dublin, Ireland, and after university moved over to the Bay Area, and my first job out of school was with Autodesk.
Oh, wow.
So my background is really as a software engineer, and worked with Autodesk for a couple of years, actually on this visualization technology, and was kind of part of the group with Ron that kind of started TechSoft. So we, at that time, Autodesk were kind of changing their focus. We did a management buyout of the technology and started TechSoft. And my job has always been generally technically interacting with our customers and making sure our products meet their needs. And in the early days, that involved a lot of sitting on site with customers and helping them develop an application. So I actually spent a number of weeks on site with SolidWorks helping develop the eDrawings product.
Oh, wow.
And my role today really hasn't changed that much, where I'm effectively trying to, meet the needs of what our customers want from our product, drive the product forward strategically, and really have to be kind of out in the market, listening to what people need, see what's going on in the general technology landscape, and really, really fun job.
Cool. Now, you guys have some really big news, two bits of news, actually. Ron, what's the news coming out of TechSoft 3D these past couple weeks?
So as Gavin mentioned, we're the people behind the curtain for a lot of the engineering software applications that people out there use. We're providing the core foundation technology to that in products from companies like SolidWorks and Autodesk, Geomagic, GrabCAD, and ANSYS. So a lot of the names people know, we have technology behind it. And really the story coming out of TechSoft right now is that we've really pulled together a lot of that proven technology that's used in hundreds of applications on hundreds of millions of desktops, and combine that with a lot of great innovative technology coming out of our R&D team to create a suite of tools that's really going to help developers create cool and useful apps in a web environment and browser environments.
Now, this is really exciting. So, I mean, you're essentially building an ecosystem for app developers so that they can build their own apps for cloud and mobile 3D stuff, right? You're building a toolkit for them.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So can you talk at all about, I mean, what is that like? Is this just an SDK, and is this is going to be, this is for programmers, right? This isn't something that Josh or I can deal with.
I don't know you well enough. You might be able to deal with it, but yeah, we have tools at many levels. So we have tools that you would consider a true ISV to be a true software company to use. Somebody like SolidWorks at a real you want to work at a real building block technology level. And then we have tools to serve a couple of new audiences, which we really haven't served before. The first is, Hoops Communicator is our product for building cloud-based applications that need really high-performance 3D. And those are built to be simple enough that any web developer can handle it, whether they know about 3D or not. It's a plug-and-play kind of solution.
That's just blowing.
Wait, so, what?
Yeah. Hang on. Okay, so give me an example, please, because
that just happened.
No, it didn't. It didn't just happen. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What you just said just happened. Sorry, I'm a little behind there. Yes. I do make some websites from time to time, so maybe I am interested in this. My head just kind of is glowing like a little light bulb right now. Tell me an example. What can I do with this toolkit?
So here's an example. There's a company that we're working with called DirectWorks, and they make a great web-based solution for manufacturing companies who are sourcing materials, and they're trying to figure out what's the lowest cost of ownership, where can I get these screws or these parts or anything that I need from, and manage that vendor relationship. Those guys know about how purchasing works in manufacturing, and they know about building a web application, but they don't know anything about 3D and 3D viewing and what someone might want to do to be able to look at the part, measure the part, do analysis on the part for costing purposes. So they use Hoops Communicator just to plug that in and add a really rich 3D experience to their web solution, and it can be integrated in a day. It's not an exaggeration.
What?
So really making that easy to use 3D in lots of new environments is the key. And systems integrators are another big market that we haven't worked with before, who just want to come in and they want to understand what a company like Toyota needs on the visualizing parts, interacting with parts, and able to get the data out of kind of behind the firewall, out of the CAD formats into a lightweight form that can be viewed in a browser, viewed on mobile devices, and measured accurately and interacted with, marked up.
Well, you guys may have just set the whole start of more engineering, mobile, and cloud apps in motion. It seems like it's been kind of limited up till now, but wow.
Because anybody that wants to do 3D on the web thus far has had to write their own kernel. I mean, it's so the people doing it right now have engineering teams.
To an extent, though. I mean, there's like WebGL and stuff out there. But is that, I mean...
that's the cool, like the thing that's really, really cool about this WebGL and a couple of other technologies is that there's this big wave around Web 2.0. Well, what was Web 2.0? Web 2.0 was a lot of things around mobile, a lot of different things. But one of the keys was the concept that your app was delivered when you visited the website.
Uh-huh.
So this is like a really powerful concept. No plugins, no software. There was this real concept. Well, the reality is if you're in our world, in the engineering world, 3D is a really important part of that experience. And so unfortunately, 3D just wasn't capable in a browser without having a plugin. So we just didn't have a Web 2.0 solution. Well, with the birth of technologies like WebGL, now you can.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're building upon this kind of, essentially this landscape shift and this ability to have 3D in a browser and really making these kind of Web 2.0 concepts now available to the engineering community. So now suddenly, like Ron was talking about, people have a parts catalog, they have it online. Well, now they can look at the 3D data directly in their web page without having to kind of go down that kind of install software, making plugins.
So how is it different from WebGL, or is it using that technology on the browser side?
There's two approaches. So one of them is WebGL, and the big thing for us is, okay, what is WebGL? Well, WebGL is a drawing language. So there's a big distance from going from looking at a SolidWorks assembly and actually, turning that into triangles. Generally a SolidWorks file has a geometric definition.
Right.
You need to take that data over. Usually SolidWorks data are pretty dense. There's lots of triangles. So it's difficult to kind of have an optimal rendering of that system. So what we do is we take your SolidWorks file and give you a web page. And that thing is, navigatable, has an assembly tree, there's context to it. You can do direct measurements on the data. So we give a rich engineering viewing experience directly in a web page, and all you need to give us is a SolidWorks file, a CATIA file, a co-engineer file.
I'm sorry, I'm just standing here like squinting my eyes and scratching my skull because I'm pretty sure that my brain just melted out my ear holes and it's kind of dripping down the back of my neck because it's not, this is like blowing my mind, guys. This is because I'm just thinking of all the things that I want to do with this. Is this something that is accessible to Joe Schmo web developer, or is this more of an enterprise solution where you need to be a big software company to afford it?
You don't have to be a big software company to afford it, but it does cost some money. It's generally meant for someone building a commercial software application or service.
Well, from an ease of use standpoint, it's absolutely a high school kid could get this stuff integrated and working.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that might be a little hard for me.
Anyone can evaluate it. Anyone can evaluate it for 60 days, so can play around with it, plug it into whatever website they're trying to build, and decide if it's something that adds value for them and that's worth it.
Right.
Okay,
so one thing I wanted to say, Josh, there's two approaches. There's this WebGL stuff, which is a great way of doing it, but that, unfortunately, WebGL is a strong story on desktop, not so strong on mobile. So we also have this other mode where you can either do what we do call server-side rendering, where we'll actually render it on the server side and just spit down an image. And so it really works on a broad array of devices. Or we also have if you want to kind of really get into we have these free apps which also can load the data, or if you want to build your own mobile app, you can do that too.
Oh.
Interesting, very cool. So I imagine you've had this out being beta tested by developers. What kind of feedback are you getting, and that might have influenced the final product for web and mobile development? And what are they using it for?
So I think a lot of the initial people we've interacted with are people who have solutions that interact with 3D data on some level. So, for example, CAD are a good example, who've taken this technology and they use it as their back-end engine in their solution. Another good example is Kinesto, where they really are a business process system. They manage business processes, and so they just want to allow in, for example, a request for proposal. They want people to be able to click on the model and actually look at it and maybe do some measurement. So the audience that we've been interacting with are generally these people who previously didn't have kind of 3D capabilities in their solution. So that's the general customers we've been looking at. The kind of things that we've been hearing people ask for is, kind of getting a broader range of devices. So initially we only supported WebGL, and now we need to introduce the server-side rendering, which solved two problems. The first was getting this broader array of devices. So, when you're just asking the browser to support an image, it means that you really do, that isn't a high bar for a browser to jump over. So server-side rendering addresses those. The other one is that while WebGL is pretty strong, it has difficulties dealing with the higher-end models. When you get to models which are a couple of, gigabytes, for example, WebGL is going to struggle with that kind of size model. So it gives you a scalability. So dealing with some of the large models has been an important thing. And then the other area that we've been hearing people ask for is that previously we would present a 3D model to you, and you could browse the assembly tree, you could measure it, you could do physical properties calculation. But what we're finding some people wanted to use is they wanted to connect the 3D data to business intelligence. So say, for example, you have something like an inventory control system. Well, it would be nice for you to be able to have the 3D model there and maybe have a color indication on some parts in the 3D model indicating the stock count or maybe the cost. So we provide this ability for people to have the viewer have an external interface that you could drive events into it. So you maybe go to your Oracle database, you do a query for all the manufacturers from a specific location, it returns those manufacturers, and then you can essentially drive events and highlight those objects in the 3D.
That is pretty amazing and exciting for so many people, I'm sure. Now, this is definitely an installed technology, a server-side technology, right? This is a software package that your customers would get from you and then install on their own servers and run independently? Or is this a cloud-based thing that you guys are hosting? What's the deal there?
Today, it's provided as a set of technologies they install on their server backend. And we're finding in the engineering space that there's, I think as you move outside the engineering space, people are comfortable with services, but still, I think in the engineering space, some people want to give people private cloud.
Right.
So we allow people to, we just give them the source technology, and they can put it up in the cloud if they want, or they can do a local installation.
And for those who might be interested, what technologies are required? Is this a Microsoft-based thing, or is this more an open source Linux-based thing?
It's current support to Windows.
Okay.
And it's as I say, it installs into a Windows service stack with
Gotcha.
IIS. But we have a Linux port planned.
Excellent.
And so it will be available on Linux shortly.
That's super exciting, guys. I mean, this sounds like a really exciting product. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more about it. I'm going to be trolling through your site in more detail. I'm noticing that I'm not seeing a whole lot of pricing information, which makes me think I probably can't afford it. But it sounds extremely cool, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, you guys also...
Much of it depends on how you structure your own business model.
Right.
SaaS models are evolving pretty quickly, and we basically plug into it and share whatever upside.
Right, of course.
Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. I mean, you guys also, though, another thing that you guys do is this 3D PDF thing that I think a lot of people have been hearing about for a long time. It comes with every copy of Acrobat, I think, Adobe Acrobat. And with more and more people doing that kind of thing, we're hearing more about it here and there. I also hear a lot of people pushing back about it. It doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. How has it been received for you guys from your perspective? And do you see that kind of bullishly kind of plowing ahead?
Yeah, so I think that this 3D PDF, I think, has struggled a little bit from people misunderstanding what it is. And I think the market is just starting to awaken us to the power of it. And really what we got in Acrobat is, all that Acrobat did is they added a 3D player to Adobe Reader. Okay. You don't even need to install Acrobat. You get Adobe Reader, and it has a pretty powerful 3D player in there. Now, we're really, really fortunate that when Adobe decided I'm not sure how many installs of it, but I believe it's over 1 billion installs of this thing, they decided to build an engineering viewer. So concepts like views and section cuts and PMI are all fully supported by this 3D player. So you have this 3D player in Acrobat, and really what you're starting to see is that, in the engineering world, there's the people who do the design at the initial phase, but as it moves from design right through into manufacture, there's a whole slew of software that's created. So, right. For example, there's a lot of analysis software. And really what these things do at the end is they generate reports. And so you have the reports are generally, a lot of times, just text data that are augmented and complemented by the 3D data. And so what you have in Acrobat is you have it's obviously the best 2D player. That's where background is of it, being able to have a universal reader for 2D content. But what you have with this 3D is the ability to include a 3D model in the document and create connections between the report data and the 3D model.
Right.
So, for example, in this CMM space, they go in, they take a model, they measure it, and see that if it's manufactured to specific tolerances. Well, now you can have a table in a PDF document with all the specific results, and as you click on each part, you can actually then get that thing highlighted back in the 3D model.
Right.
So Acrobat is this really powerful report platform. So, and I think people were a little confused about just 3D on a page, and that's what Acrobat 3D is. And really, it's not that. It's really about 3D content being now available in this, in this Adobe Reader. So it's really friendly. So next week I'm going up to visit Boeing. They're big users of 3D PDF, and they love it because they have a free 3D engineering viewer.
Right.
And they can generate these reports. And then there's another part to this, Josh, which is around the model-based engineering effort. And really what this is about the big manufacturers have got together. They want to eliminate drawings, and they want to have a single digital definition of the model. So what they're doing is they have their CAD model, which is a great mathematical definition of the model. But then they want to put the manufacturing tolerances in there, and they want to create views, and each view effectively defines kind of like a drawing of it.
Right.
Well, now they're starting to put this data, the reality is to consume drawing information directly in a 3D in a 3D model. If you've only a 3D viewer, it's really difficult to read that data in a 3D viewer. I think the guys who've gotten nearest to doing a really good job of that is SolidWorks with our eDrawing solution.
Uh-huh.
Still, it's not a natural. If you look at some of this data that comes from other systems like CATIA, and you read these NDE models in a 3D player, it's really difficult to use.
Yeah.
And what you can do with PDF allows you to do is take that 2D data that deserves to be in a 2D form factor, put that outside the model, put it into different pages of PDF documents, and then have the 3D model there and connect the notes that are specific to 3D information and have it connected to 3D window.
So the 3D is kind of augmenting your 2D experience in a way, more in Acrobat. And I mean, I think a big part of that, and probably a big part of the adoption of it, has less to do possibly with the technology that you guys have developed and more with, say, the implementation by a SolidWorks or an Autodesk product and how they make it possible for people to author that content, as opposed to what you're saying is theoretically possible in the PDF technology, right?
Right. Yeah, I think you're perfectly right. And I think what we always say internally is, people talk about 3D PDF and what they tend to focus on the 3D portion of that, when really what they should have been focusing on was the PDF.
The PDF portion, right? That's a really good point.
Acrobat is, it's a powerful collaboration platform. It has this ubiquitous viewer. Isn't that a great thing for our industry?
Right.
And so people are just focused on the 3D portion. And so I think there was a little bit of a misstep there initially. And so we don't kind of, I think for the IFCs out there, it was understandable that they kind of didn't create great content initially, because I think there wasn't a clear message of what the value proposition was.
But do you see that changing now?
We do.
Yeah, that's changing as we start to see end user organizations, especially in aerospace and defense, really start to see how valuable it is to add 3D to their PDFs and how to link non-3D data with 3D data. They're starting to demand that from their software providers, and so we are definitely starting to see that change. And the software developers, of course, are going to be responsive to what their major customers are asking for. Were you going to add something else, Gavin?
No.
I think one last question, and just kind of bringing this back around to Hoops 3D. As people are more and more able to develop this content for both browser-based and mobile-based viewing, I think that's already been putting a big hole in the need for PDF in the first place. I think PDF continues to be extremely relevant, but less so as mobile kind of kicks in more and more. You use other methods that will be more universally applicable to all different viewing types, viewing methods. Do you guys see mobile and web-based viewing as a competitor to PDF, to 3D PDF, or do you think they're complementary?
Well, the first thing that we always think about is that TechSoft is not here to decide really what format people should use or what things should be prioritized. We exist to help development teams create successful applications.
Yeah.
So if people are asking us for tools to build mobile apps, we're not gonna, we're gonna serve that need independent of what it means for 3D PDF. And if we want to make great 3D PDF files using our SDK, so we're just here to really take care of developers. And we also think that there's plenty of use cases for 3D, and people are discovering new ones every day about, oh wow, actually if I did connect this other business intelligence data to the 3D model, I could do X, Y, or Z, whether they're using 3D PDF for that or an independent mobile app. So we think that the field is plenty large, that they don't really, in our experience, they haven't really competed with one another, if that's what you're asking. What were you going to say, Gavin?
Yeah, I was I think that the mobile world, I think in many respects, the mobile world came up with this new concept, which was you built an app around content. Right, which is this kind of it's rather than having a viewer and you read in multiple files. No, when you're, you can download an app for the French Open, right? And it's kind of a very custom app for that data.
Right.
And in many respects, that's what PDF is. PDF was this thing of okay, build a sophisticated, app is probably a stretch, but it was the same idea of you build an app around content. Here's a specific form, I can enter content in here, and so on. So in many respects, the mobile world kind of translates conceptually to what is going on in PDF. I think the big difference is that I think when you're looking at the big guys, what they're really looking for is a big part of the equation is archival, and how do I put this stuff
Absolutely
away?
right.
PDF has a strong story there. The mobile world is transient. It's the transient world. So these apps, yes, they're there,
right.
They're changing. So they don't have a strong archival story. So I could see, for example, you your source information, like MBE. This is not about a file format. This is about concepts.
Right.
And then there's ways in which you deliver that intelligence down. And PDF is a very strong one. But I think probably on mobile you might have an app.
Right.
That kind of deals with that.
So it's not either or. It's definitely going to be both. And PDF, like you're saying, I think PDF is an excellent archival format, and it does have a great story about longevity, having been around for a really long time, and people trust it. I think absolutely that's a good way to think about it. All right, well, guys, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, keep up the great work, guys. Good to see you injecting some energy into our world.
Today's episode was brought to you by the new Objet 500 Connects 3 from Stratasys, the world's only color and multi-material 3D printer. Offering incomparably brilliant and consistent colors, plus transparent colors, the Objet 500 Connects 3 lets you create the most true-to-life modeling possible. Find out more at stratasys.com. Thanks for listening in today, and if you'd like to find out more about TechSoft 3D, you can check them out at techsoft3d.com. I'm your host, Simon Martin. Stay tuned and check in with us next week on Maker Galaxy.
A production of EBD Media.